वासुदेवेन्द्र योगीन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम् मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते। नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासं निराकारं निरञ्जनं नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्मा नमाम्यहम्। एवं च वेदान्तवाक्यैः सद्गुरुरूपदेशेन च सर्वेष्वपि भूतेषु येषां ब्रह्मबुद्धिरुत्पन्ना ब्रह्मबुद्धिरुत्पन्ना ते जीवन्मुक्ताः इत्यर्थः।
I'll do this, okay? Follow me. Nanu जीवन्मुक्तः कः
जीवन्मुक्तः कः
यथा देहोऽहं पुरुषोऽहं ब्राह्मणोऽहं शूद्रोऽहम् अस्मीति
यथा देहोऽहं पुरुषोऽहं ब्राह्मणोऽहं शूद्रोऽहमिति
दृढनिश्चयस्तथा
दृढनिश्चयस्तथा
नाहं ब्राह्मणः नः शूद्रः न पुरुषः
नाहं ब्राह्मणः न शूद्रः न पुरुषः
किन्तु असङ्गः सच्चिदानन्दस्वरूपः
किन्तु असङ्गः सच्चिदानन्दस्वरूपः
प्रकाशरूपः सर्वान्तर्यामी
प्रकाशरूपः सर्वान्तर्यामी
चिदाकाशरूपोऽस्मीति
चिदाकाशरूपोऽस्मीति
दृढनिश्चयरूपो परोक्षज्ञानवान् जीवन्मुक्तः
दृढनिश्चयरूपो परोक्षज्ञानवान् जीवन्मुक्तः
ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मीत्यपरोक्षज्ञानेन
ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मीत्यपरोक्षज्ञानेन
निखिलकर्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्तः स्यात्
निखिलकर्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्तः स्यात्
कर्माणि कतिविधानि सन्तीति चेत्
कर्माणि कतिविधानि सन्तीति चेत्
आगामि सञ्चित प्रारब्धभेदेन
आगामि सञ्चित प्रारब्धभेदेन
त्रिविधानि सन्ति
त्रिविधानि सन्ति
आगामि कर्म किम्
आगामि कर्म किम्
ज्ञानोत्पत्त्यनन्तरं ज्ञानी देहकृतम्
ज्ञानोत्पत्त्यन्तरं Can you say that again?
ज्ञानोत्पत्त्यनन्तरं
ज्ञानोत्पत्त्यन्तरं
पत्यनन्तरं
ज्ञानोत्पत्त्यन्तरं
पत्यनन्तरं
पत्यनन्तरं
ज्ञानी देहकृतं
ज्ञानी देहकृतं
पुण्यपापरूपं कर्म
पुण्यपापरूपं कर्म
यदस्ति तदागामीत्यभिधीयते
यदस्ति तदागामीत्यभिधीयते
संचितं कर्म किम्
संचितं कर्म किम्
अनन्तकोटिजन्मनां बीजभूतं सत्
अनन्तकोटि जन्मनां बीजभूतं सत्
Yat karma jatam
यत्कर्म जातं
urvarjitam tishtati
पूर्वार्जितं तिष्ठति
tat sanchitam gneyam
तत्सञ्चितं ज्ञेयम्
prarabdham karma kimiti chet
प्रारब्धं कर्म किमिति चेत्
idam shariram utpadya
इदं शरीरमुत्पाद्य
ihaloke
इहलोके
evam sukha dukkhadi pradam
एवं सुखदुःखादिप्रदं
yat karma
यत् कर्म
tat prarabdham bhogena nashtam bhavati
तत् प्रारब्धं भोगेन नष्टं भवति
prarabdha karmanam bhogadeva kshaya iti.
प्रारब्धकर्मणां भोगादेव क्षय इति
This much. So we saw the Jivan Mukta is one whose entire karma is freed of. And yesterday we saw how the cycle of karma keeps us, how the cycle of karma is the base of existence in avidya. When one doesn't know oneself, recognizes oneself with Dhrida Nishchaya, Brahma Buddhi. And I will always complete the sentence by saying, just as majority of us today have a Dhrida Nishchaya Jiva Buddhi. We recognize ourselves as a Jiva, as an individual. And with individual comes all its shortcomings that we perceive upon ourselves. Vedantic education is that to be able to show the fallacy and the falsity of these superimposed, I would actually say self-accusations, self-judgments, which make the person confined to a sense of individuality. With this sense of individuality, one performs karmas because the sense of individuality is always parallel to. It runs on a parallel track, the other side of the track being that I'm incomplete, I need to do something, I'm restless, I feel a sense of emptiness, I feel vacuum, I feel I want. You can multiply these thoughts, but basically it would point out to oneself feeling some sense of incompleteness. And that restless, very deep-seated restlessness, which is propelling a person to constantly look out, because that's all that a person in avidya is capable of. Means by default, the mechanism is made in such a way, the human interaction, any life interaction is made in such a way that if you're a living entity, then you identify with the senses. And once you identify with the senses are only externally oriented. So they only report objects of the world. These senses are incapable of turning within by themselves. They are not designed like that. Just as yesterday I was giving the example of the torch. The torch battery is oriented, the shape is oriented in such a way that the light is thrown out. It generates the light, but it is thrown out. The same light cannot be used to look at the battery within, which is generating the light. So the hard case of it is the gross body of the battery. The battery of the torch, the battery inside is the subtle body, prana combination, of the torch. Combined together, when it is triggered, that triggered mechanism generates light, but the design is such that it generates it outside. It doesn't have an inlet inside. So the same light cannot be used within the chamber where the battery is held. But without the battery, there will be no light outside. So in the same way, this indweller inside, who's the conscious being, is activating the entire Sthula Sukshma Sharira. But once it's activated, the design is such that this design only looks outside to its respective objects. And when it looks outside, that's its limitation. That's the shortcoming of the very upadhi, of the very equipment. The shortcoming of the torches, the design is such that it cannot look within. The shortcoming of the Sharira identification is that it cannot look within. But to look within means automatically it cannot look within. But the individual, when they start in identification, they stop identifying with the senses and just get carried away with its movement. Then now the mind has to be tamed, trained to not jump with the senses and hold by itself. With practice, the mind is held by itself, though the mind is still reporting the senses, but it doesn't have to flow with the senses. So while senses can't look within, mind can be held to not flow out with the senses. So when the mind is held by itself in its own minimized restless behavior, yesterday I said, or I don't know, maybe in meditation I said, mind is like flowing without a bank. If you don't have banks of a river, it flows everywhere. Those banks of the rivers, once the river has a bank, it gets channelized. Water gets channelized. In the same way, if mind is kept trained well along with sense management, now this mind will hold within the banks that the individual has provided through strong vichar, through strong shravanam of the knowledge, through a strong memory of what is real and what is wrong. These are the banks that it keeps it going through Shama, Dhamma, Adi, Sadhana Chatushtayam. The individual holds the banks and now the mind flows within it. So the restless behavior of the mind reduces. Now such a mind which is fairly steadily held by itself, and when the gunas, as we said, mind is predominantly sattvic, so if it is not flowing out and in its own pure nature as is, it is capable of reflecting. It's capable of reflecting the chaitanyam that one is now utilizing in identifying with the body. Chaitanyam per se, yesterday I said, is like Akasha. Akasha is not associated with anything that it accommodates. Chaitanyam also is not associated with anything that falls in it. So the entire identification that is done by the individual, Jivatva Buddhi, of the Sthula Sukshma Sharira, all is within consciousness, within Chaitanyam. Once this individual is identified with the Sharira and has the Jivatva Buddhi, identification makes it limited to the identified properties. Have you ever noticed if you have some set of friends, say school friends, college friends, some really deep friend or some very, very close friend, are your conversations the same with everyone? What determines the quality of conversation? Is it entirely you? It is that Sangha. You can't have the same conversations with two people. It is definitely the association where both are equal parameters, both are equal contributors to the quality of the conversation or to whatever conversation it is, whether it is fulfilling your level of personality or not, etc. Point is that Sangha, the capacity to converse, you may have a lot more or lot less than the other person. Both are limiting each other in association. Sometimes you have more and you are limited by the other person because they just do not respond to your better conversations. They don't understand. And you bring the conversation back to, say, some what you may call not essential or just meaningless or just not fulfilling enough. But when you initiate a conversation which is more fulfilling to you, the other person can switch off. Or it can be the other way around. You could be the one who is bringing frivolous conversation on the table and the other person switches off. Which means what? The qualities of each other limit the experience. They limit the experience. In the same way, this identifying equipment that Jiva has of the Sharira limits the experience. And with that limited experience and the background restless to say, I want to do this, I want to be this, I need to complete myself. If I do this, I'll be more happy, and that more happy, and that more and more happy. If we all look back, I think our happiest days were our childhood days, when there was no thinking, no worry, no botheration of. Most of us have had at least a few years of real happy carefree days, and we were still existing. Now we were still, what is that happiness coming from? If that was enough, as the sharir grew, why was it not retained? Why are we still chasing it? If having experienced our best happiness, it's lost. We are still trying to discover another realm of experience from the outer world, which is going to make it more happy, steady, stable, your own words. Under this pretext, whatever one does is that karma generated. And when karma is generated, that karma is going to make a person more restless than just saying, I'm unfulfilled. Because calm means, if I get that, I'll be fulfilled. What is the nature of calm? Desire. What is the nature of desire? Any desire. Before the desire was born, I am a restless being to some state. I am a little disturbed being. I want something more. I may not be a very violently disturbed person, but I'm looking for something more from creation. I may be just that much. But when I identify something I can do, I identify it with an idea that this will make me happy. Now that supposition that this will make me happy is the desire born. Now this desire, once it's born, it is a greater state of disturbance than the original disturbance. In fact, that is one big clue, at least for those who have heard a lot of Vedanta, will identify more clearly than maybe you would be appreciating it, why people choose to remain in tamas, inactivity. Why they don't like to encourage their desires to do something, because to do something would mean certain level of agitation has to be faced. Desire brings up certain agitation. Desire brings up certain disturbance. Because this desire, till it is going to get fulfilled, you are going to remain disturbed, because there is this whole superimposition of the idea that once I get this, I'll be more happy than I was before. I'll be more fulfilled than I was before. I don't know how much are you able to translate this in your experience of recognition that this is already happening. It is not that after knowledge it will start. This piece of knowledge is what is happening is being restated. It's a question of recognizing the jiva's state of living. Desires we think are necessary to get something. Go-getter, achieve something, Be successful. Desire. If you don't have a desire, you will not do anything at all. Shastra has never said not to have desire. But what it says is that once this desire is formed, this is going to keep you restless. You can but channelize this desire in the right way. If you don't, then you're triggering a cycle of karma, because that desire will make you act. जब तक करोगे नहीं, तब तक disturb रहेगा. Our example is, when you go shopping, you went with a particular idea. For most people, you go with an idea to get one thing or two things. Now with online shopping, a lot of things have changed, but physical shopping. And then when you're there in the store, you see 5 more things. Though at that time you only went, even if you're a highly disciplined person, you went with 1 or 2, but your senses picked up 2, 3 more, and you came back home. Now, at that time, it doesn't register sometimes. Sometimes it does. Mostly it does. But I'm taking an exceptional case that even if it didn't register to you, but when you came back home and you opened your packets, your thought goes to that which you saw and you liked. And you almost thought, maybe I should have got it. And I said, no, I didn't need it, so it's okay. 2 days later, the thought comes up again. But it was nice. Maybe I should have got it. Then you say, no, I don't need it. Then you say, no, it's okay. What's the harm? Next time when I go, I'll get it. And then a lot of us say, no, we leave it to God. Quote unquote. Agar mera hoga, to mil jayega. Nahi hoga, to nahi hoga. But what the point is, that desire, once it's formed, it is not easy to handle. In fact, most human beings, Vedanta will take this stand very clearly. Most human beings are miserable at handling desires. We don't know how to handle desires. They get formed as if by default, presupposing this big part of knowledge must be firm. Any desire is formed only when there is this feeling of I am not complete. And that can only happen when Brahma Buddhi is not there. Jiva Buddhi is there. As a Jiva Buddhi, it is impossible that you don't have desires. Not possible. So forget about it. Anybody who thinks they are saints are pretending. They are hypocrites. Because it's not possible not to have desires if you have a Jivatva Buddhi. If there is a Jivatva Buddhi, desire is bound to be there. Then you only have 2 choices, Shastra says. Either you now start practicing your values and be legitimate in fulfilling those desires, use dharma, or use yoga, karma yoga, to sublimate, to reduce the force of desire, to control the desire, and finally to outgrow it. Or, the first part was either you use karma, or if you do karma yoga, or if you don't, and you let the desire take you to its course of action, you're bound to the result. Like I said yesterday, the other side of that action is the result, and what connects it is time. You do not know when it will fructify, but the result must come back to you only. That is the law of karma. It will not be passed on. You cannot evade it. How we can evade taxes? You can't evade law of karma. You have to enjoy or pay. Both. You earn or you spend. You earn or you spend. There is only these 2 things that you can do. What is this law of karma more in details? A little more. I'm not going to take too long a session on this, because as I said, we have to wind this up. But I don't want to cut short because the topic is very essential. Karma word by itself has got very loosely misinterpreted in society because of the translation of karma as action. And this is a huge, huge detriment to the Vedic vision. Karma is not equivalent to action. Karma word had a specific meaning. And the meaning of karma is actually the phal that it produces when you do the Vedic karma. Karma means any karma prescribed which includes Ishvara Buddhi. So Karma Yoga can also be called karma because it has Ishvara ingredient. If a karma doesn't have the ingredient of Ishvara as a component in your action, what are the components of action? Components of action is actor, the doer, the very performance of action with the help of your instruments of action. Karanam, Karta, and the Karyam. Karta is the doer. You become a doer of an action. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Karyam is when you start generating what all actions you have to do. And Karanam are the instruments that you use for it. What are the instruments that get used? Three together, all three of them actually contribute to make a karma. When they are just done like that, that is an action. Any action can be done with just these three. They will give you some result. But when karma word is used actually in the real sense, karma has a specific connotation. And that connotation is that now there is a fourth ingredient to the action. And the fourth ingredient is Ishvara is included in your action, in your attitude. Why you are doing it. It could be in the goal. It can be attached to the phal, result, that God gives the results. Ishvara is giving the result. He is the karma phal data. You can include it at the level of result. You can include it at the level of action itself, that the action I am doing is only for whatever contribution I can make in the world because I've received so much, it's God's, etc. It can be from the actor's standpoint that someone facilitates this desire. Someone facilitates this capacity to act. The one who facilitates the capacity to act is Ishwar. Including Ishwar in the component of action, now there are four things. The Karta is there, Karyam is there, Karanam is there, and Ishwar is there. When the four things are included, this inclusion of the fourth was called karma. Whenever the fourth is included, now your action is a complete unit. Now it forms a full completion. Now the karma is complete. Before you add Ishvara also, you can say karma is done, because what else does it need? It needs me to do. It needs certain instruments to do, and then I do. Karma gets done. I get some result out of it. This is very subtle, very, very, very subtle. I get karma out of it. This is how everybody in the world thinks. I do. I have certain instruments to do, and I do it for a reason, for some phal. So I perform that action and then I get the result. This karma is action. It will only give, Shastra says this, it does give a result, and the result is only drishta phalam. A phal result that can be seen. You can see it in experience straight away in a lifetime. So though time may be involved, means I start my education when and I get my job when. And then I see the result of my education. Now there is a time, but I get it all in a lifetime. Be very careful of this, because this understanding will make a world of a difference to how you approach Shastra Vidya and then how you approach your life with that Vidya. If it just stays within the realm of, these are called Laukik karmas, action which is only going to pertain to this loka. This loka means here what is seen. Trishta phalam, seen result. The result is seen in this here, now, lifetime. There is no carry forward of it. But the minute you include Ishvara in the karma, now this is where Shastra says is the real meaning of karma. See how much effort now is involved to dissociate the two words, because for some reason they have so badly got mixed up together. Karma meant, original meaning, real meaning of karma is Ishvara inclusion. And when there is an Ishvara inclusion, results that the individual gets, the performer gets, the karta gets is of two kinds now. There is a drishta phalam and there is an adrishta phalam. A result which has gone into the realms of unseen now. Those unseen results that are also accruing to the individual, those results are called punya or pap. Punya and pap is a very specific terminology that comes from karma. Which karma? Ishvara included karma alone can give punyam and pap. This punyam and pap means what? It is of course going to fructify as a result, but not necessarily now. In this lifetime, it has a carry. It depends, again, gahana gatihi. You cannot, that is what means by karma cannot be examined in a lifetime, because karmas have a gati. That gati is in the form of punya and pap that this jiva has accumulated. So a lot of things that in the fulfillment of our desires, we do not know. We are not very alert people. In fact, the more spiritual development you have, you are bound to be a dharmic person. Without being dharma as the base means you have learned to manage your desires and their gratification through righteous means. That's dharma. What is your dharma you have abided by? That's a very high state of discipline from today's standpoints of total freedom with sensory world. No obligation, nobody has to nobody. Everybody does what they want to do. When you perform a life of dharma, automatically there is a certain level of righteousness with which you operate. And when actions are performed, now I'm using the word action. When actions are performed with dharma buddhi minimum, means what is to be done? What ought I to be do? What are my duties to be done? According to Shastra Vidya. According to Vedic Vidya. Not anybody, not any Tom, Dick and Harry tells me to do this and I do it because they have an authority over me. As an individual, Shastra says I have certain duties to perform. Like what? I am eating an apple every day. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. So I must have an apple a day. But for the tree that gave me the apple was not sown by me. I did not sow the seed of that tree, but I consumed the apple. That means I have certain duties to return back. I must also give back so that my action, I may not see how my action has benefited someone or not, but that action is a beneficial action for everyone. So I do that action and I leave it because in time that tree gave some fruit which benefited someone. So there has to be some actions performed in a lifetime that will benefit someone or the other, whether I see it or I don't see it, because I offer that action as a part of my duty to creation. These are Ishvara Arpanam. This is where Ishvara has been brought into karma. And such karmas are bound to give, whether I see them as results or not, coming to me. What is my benefit? I must tell you, once I got some request from a group just before Corona hit, before I was starting your classes. I was trying to start a new session, some fresh people who had not had any exposure to knowledge. And someone said, can you please start classes? Sure enough, we were just fixing the schedule. That time it would have been physically taking classes because Corona hadn't yet hit. So they said, how much will you charge? And I'm like, I wasn't oriented. And they actually dropped the classes because they said, if you do not charge, then people will take advantage of you. People will, something like that. And the dialogue fell off. This is not, I'm not saying don't charge. I'm not saying I should not charge. I'm not saying any of that. I'm talking of Vedic view. For Vedic view holder, karma done means result has to come to you. Whether this one is giving or that, how much am I benefiting from this is not your duty then. If you're going to equate it in benefit, then what have you lost? Can anybody answer this?
The phalam, the unseen phalam.
Exactly. Excellent. Was that Divya? Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. You have a choice. You can convert it into Drishtaphalam. If I need it, of course I'm going to charge for it. I will charge for it tomorrow. Who knows? I'm not closing the option. Nobody closes any options in life. The idea is not that. The idea is, Shastra tells you there is an opportunity for you to earn your punya, which cannot come if you make every action laukik. You understand what I'm saying? Please don't take this as a personal thing. I hope there is a broad perspective to learning. Yeah, this is just an example because this example is very, very objectively said. Why? Because there is no place where today, everything has become transactional. And why are people making everything transactional? Because the idea of punya and pap as phal that comes to you, that is diminishing from the understanding. We are all so focused how now. What am I getting now? If I don't do this, I don't get. There is an insecurity all the time. There is an agitation all the time. There is restlessness all the time. Please understand, I'm not saying that's not right. It is fine. Every individual have to do some karma for their sake. Perfect. The idea of punya generation is, or papa generation, if I do something, if I really want something, and I go hurt someone in the process of fulfillment of my action, or I purposely, supposing I want more people in the class and I talk certain things which will only bring more people in the class, because now what is that going to do? I have not done my duty correctly. And if I don't do my duty correctly, I may see it as a drishta phalam that yes, I'm attracting more people are coming. But what is the unseen result I have accumulated along? Was my motive clear? Was my intention clear to me? Was it pure enough for me to just execute a duty? And that I will not see what I have brought along with it, because the subject is supposing, this whole subject is Ishvara Vacha. Vedanta is not Laukik knowledge. So I will not even register probably, but there will be something that comes along with it because there was a flaw in my approach to it. Am I making sense? Or is it a little confusing?
Yes. Actually, more sense than ever.
Great. Thank you so much. Because, these are questions that keep getting addressed over the time, and it becomes extremely essential to clarify karma before we move on to what is going to be Jivan Mukti, to understand Jivan Mukti through Brahma Vidya, and the whole topic is that, and to understand how we are bound in avidya to the cycle of karma, means if I want better and better existence, this punya and pap expresses in my life as karma pal, as some benefits and as some difficulties, situational. Punya and pap is not equal to sukh and dukh. It is not equal to happiness or sorrow. It is only equal to situations that are conducive or struggling. Pap means now there is phal that has emerged, which makes it a lot of struggle to do what you are doing, or to, it brings more. Certain lives have a lot. Now, a lot of people living in the world, say during Corona times, there have been difficulties that have fallen into people's lives, which have come from which source? No, we have not identified from where has it come. We are still searching where has this come from. But the experience is already there of the difficulty that we have gone through. What is this an eruption of? And yet there are a few people, where the time has actually been more beneficial to them. Most of the people are going to find it extremely awkward hearing this, where the whole world was suffering. There are a very small section of people who will say, it was, thank you God, because it gave them time, or it gave them something which was difficult to have perceived would have come under normal circumstances. I will say for me it is a great thank you I have this class going on online. I would have never registered an online class before. I was resistant to an online class before. Thanks to Corona, I'm talking to all of you. And I'm very, very thankful for this class. Extremely thankful for this class for my sake, because it's a fantastic opportunity. How did this opportunity come? Because of Corona. That's the cause. But what has it brought to me? Along with certain difficulty, it has brought to me yes, it's a blessing in disguise. It has brought to me a certain level of comfort. The traveling times reduced. A lot of things have been more conservative now. I could conserve a lot of energy, directed to where I should be directing them. Punya and pap are seen or unseen, are unseen results which manifest not as sukh or dukh. That is our interpretation of it, because a lot of people in times of dukh, like say, I think it was Kunti who said, or you hear it in bhakti literature a lot of devotees never ask Bhagwan to give them more happiness or more comfort in life. They like to stay with a little struggle, because their idea is that struggle keeps them connected to Bhagwan. A lot of bhakti orientation, because that means I do not mind the difficulty in my life as long as I can stay connected to you. That sort of an attitude that they hold with them. To them, that difficulty is punyam. It is not seen as dukh. It is seen as a source of sukh. So good times and bad times, our interpretation as they are happy or sorrow is in personal interpretation based on our own knowledge and capacity. But punya and pap will come only as conducive or difficult times. And they will come for everyone. Even a Brahma, this is what he's going to say now. Even an aspiring person will have punya and pap, because now we will enter what the book is saying. If you've understood this much, punya and pap are Vedic validation. For karmas which say Vedas prescribe to us, which means dharmic karmas, let's stick to that. We can't do the physical part of rituals, but dharmic karmas, when they have the ingredient of Ishvara included, they bring the adrishta phalam in the form of punya or pap. If your intention was wrong, and a lot of us, they say a whole generation, I think within 2 generations, we've lost the Vedic culture completely, 2-3 generations. Why? Because in modern education, we were exposed to the question Why are we doing this? Who's God? Who's all this? Why should we function? Why should we do our rituals? What does rituals make us do, etc., etc.? Okay, fine, that's gone. We are not going to return back to it. Society can never return back to what it gives up. You can only preserve what you have if the knowledge is right. Now, with this punya and pap, what has happened? The whole idea of that we will accept the word grace, as if Bhagwan is sitting there, some God is sitting there, who is throwing grace on some selected people. If you worship him, if you give him flowers, if you adore him, he'll give you you have to wait for him to throw grace upon you. Vedic concept has no such illusion. You earn your grace. That's it. So a lot of people just keep saying, give us your blessing, give us your blessing, give us your blessing. Sometimes it gets a little on your nerves sometimes because you just say, by asking you don't get blessings. If you've earned it, you will get it. And if you earn it, you don't have to ask. It's yours. You've already earned it. So the whole attention in the Vedic system was to spend a lifetime doing what is to be done, minimizing you cannot avoid them in avidya, so you minimize them. So there were a lot of counter actions that one did. But bandhan meant what? That this phal you are bound to. Whatever the karma you have done, you've generated a phal. Now, if you have done it without Ishwar Buddhi, what is the gati? You are bound to the result, and that result you do not know what it will be, good, bad, pleasant, unpleasant, favorable, unfavorable. Anything result can have. That result, when it will manifest, you do not know, but you will be in existence to experience that phal. That is just laukik drishti, and this gati to experience your sukha dukkha as pleasant, unpleasant situations is called samsara. Without Ishvara, whatever gati or karmas will bring to you is in the form of samsara, birth, death, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. But with Ishvara inclusion, what gati will you get? There is a possibility that your gati can take you straight to heaven, existence to heaven. A punya can accumulate so much that you will get a heavenly life. You can have so much papa that you can have a hellish life, a life in hell, or you can accumulate your karma in such a way that you purify all the latent impressions in you. You get freed of the impulsive behavior that human exhibits, because only in a human body can you free yourself of it. And you develop that chitta shuddhi by just simply doing what you are supposed to do. You can do your karma like that, and chitta shuddhi, those karmas can bring chitta shuddhi in time, and that chitta shuddhi is relative peace and freedom. Once you have chitta shuddhi, you are not going to retreat back to impulsive behavior. Whatever is left of you will keep erupting, no doubt about it. It's a gradual process, but it is a carrying forward. Chitta shuddhi carries forward till that viveka, vairagya, interest in subject, etc., etc., etc. functions. Now this is an overview. It's absolutely a precious piece of information, I would say. Why? Because you see the sansara gati, you see swarga gati, you see patal lok gati, you see chitta shuddhi gati. You get atma lok, you get swarga lok, you get patal lok, or you get bhulok. That this gati is going to be there for this jiva as an experience is non-negatable, non-negotiable, if there is avidya. So what had happened to the one who had led a life where he's now got Brahma Buddhi? Jivan Mukti has become. He said, Brahmaiva aham asmi iti aparoksha jnanena. By very knowledge of Brahman is I am. Aham asmi. In this manner, Brahman I am. In this manner, iti, quote unquote. Aparoksha jnanam. Immediate knowledge. as we have the Jiva Buddhi, which is aparoksh today. What does the word aparoksh mean? If you're sleeping and I shake you, who are you? If you're drowsy or you're drunk and I ask you, who are you? What will you say? You will not say, I am you. You will not say, I am. If in that intoxicated state also, you will say, I am so and so, or I am whatever I have self-conclusion of myself. That aparoksha jnanam of your own self as an individual, or the one whose same immediateness of knowledge, but he says, I am Brahman. Nikhila karma bandhan vinirmuktaha. For good, he's freed from all bonds of karma. And what are these karmas? What type of karmas is he freed from? Which means we are bound to. In avidya, we get bound to. Only that's why breaking that, he gets freed. What are those karmas? Agami, Sanchit, Prarabdha Bhedena. Three. Three is at three. Three comes from three. Trividhani. Types of karmas are there. Agami, Sanchit, Prarabdha. These are the three types of karma. And the classification is based on the time frame in which they have manifest or they will manifest. The time frame is the parameter on which the classification is made. This is absolutely path-breaking understanding. Or if you can get it, it'll be beautiful. What is the basis of this classification? It is not hypothetical, it is not imaginary. The basis is time. In which frame of time is the karma referred to that the classification is going to be made? So what is Agami Karma? What is Sanchit Karma? And what is Prarabdha Karma? That each one has who has avidya or who has a janma. Whoever doesn't have Brahma Buddhi, because the one who has Brahma Buddhi is Jivan Muktaha, and he's freed from all karmas, which means Prarabdha, Sanchit, Agami. So what are these three karmas? I'll quickly introduce. Agami Karma, I'm not referring to this slide at the moment. I'll just explain the three and we will do the slide next time. What is Agami Karma? Agami Karma, Agami. Gam is the root. Gam means going. Agami means coming. Whatever in this lifetime, up till your death, whatever you are generating now, the karmas that you are constantly doing, they are going to bring a result. They are subject to get a result. These results are called Agami. That are going to be generated in this life. Actions that we are doing, which will be generated, results of which will be generated in this life. Which means they are in a fluid state yet. Because I may do 5, say, karmas that in the Gita there is a portion and the Vedas talk of Grahastha Ashram karmas, and one of the karmas it talks of is Panch Mahayagna, and in Panch Mahayagna say for a Grahastha this Panch Mahayagna is to be done. And one of them it presupposes that every household has a lot of unwilling, especially the housewives or whoever works. Now there are less housewives, we have helpers to do, but you still will be attributed to that cause. There are a lot of insects, small, that every day get harmed. We injure the animals for our consumption. There's a lot of such things that we do by our actions in a lifetime. So to counter that, every day there were certain kind of karmas that an individual were to do. These were Manushya Yagna, Pitra Yagna, Deva Yagna, Swadhyaya Yagna, Jnana Yagna, Brahmana Yagna. So these would cover all classes where we would probably make an error in our, like we walk and, especially monsoons. If we go for a walk during monsoons, how many earthworms are there you see trampled? It kind of does this to you when you see half the body gone suddenly, something shivers you up. So you prefer, wherever I can avoid, let me avoid, be very alert and avoid. But in spite of all alertness, there'll be ants you've trampled upon. There's life form. A lot of mosquitoes attack in one moment. There was information that I got. I was very surprised that most of the mosquitoes which bite us are female mosquitoes, and they bite us the most when they are actually expecting. So it means that they're going to be, and you are like, oh my God, I was not aware of this fact. Which means what? Now, before I do this, she needs food for her child. So what are you going to do? You're not going to now you think you've just saved yourself from dengue and chikungunya and all that malaria, and you've saved yourself. Now, in the Vedic vision, human being is not supposed to be exclusive. Planet is for all life forms. We were supposed to live in harmony, which means we hurt, we also get hurt. We must accept it. We injure, we should also be subject to injury. If we can harm someone, let there be life forces which can also harm human species. In Vedic view, life is an equal opportunity to every form of upadhi. Whether it's a mosquito upadhi, whether it is a human upadhi, whether it is a donkey upadhi, whether it is any upadhi. Life is an equal form for it. So, when we do this kind of an action, whatever we are doing in this life, I may have hurt someone, but then, there'll be certain kind of karmas that are like prayashchit karmas. So I do some retributory actions, like I feel sorry for it, so I go and compensate for it or do something. That means now this karma that I generated has been neutralized at some point before the result came up. It's in time, remember? Phala is in time. So within that time, before it has manifested, there is this fluid area where you can change its course. That's why a lot of prayers and a lot of rituals, a lot of spiritual life is oriented because of this understanding. In culture, it came about because of this knowledge. So Agami Karma means whatever I'm generating in this lifetime, it is not yet so fluid. It is not yet concretized itself that I cannot now change it. It's not like that arrow shot already from the bow. It is still in my hand. My will is in my hand. My choice is still in my hand. So even if I have done something, I still have a choice to undo it as best as I can do or neutralize it by something else. That result that is going to be generated is going to be called Agami. The second one is Sanchita Karma. Sanchita Karma means whatever I'm doing, and as it keeps getting concretized, it goes and gets added to my total karma bank. I have a bank account, karma account. Chitragupta is the accountant. He keeps in hisab how much has she added by the end of the day, at the end of the life, basically. So overall times, all of us have accumulated karma. That sanchitam, by the word itself, you can understand. Collection. Sanchit means ikatha kiya hua. Barota hua. Barota is the right word? बरोट लिया हिंदी में बरोट ही कहते हैं बटोर लिया that's right sorry बटोर लिया karma बटोर लिया in a lifetime हमने karma बटोर लिया whatever has been बटोरोड over the lifetimes, the total account, everything in collected, my collected earning is sanchitam. So Agami Karma gets added into Sanchita Karma. So when I end the last breath of my life, there'll be this Batorna process as the pranas leave the body. The subtle body is about to leave the body. And along with the subtle body, what leaves, remember, is the karta, and that karta is the bhokta. So now he has started to, now it will become, the jiva in this life has no more free will to change. His death processing means now, but not but sealing has happened. You are sealing the karmas now. You will not be able to alter some of them at some point till you get a human birth again. And in a human birth again, the process will start. You will still get free will. You can undo the whole thing, or you will again batoro it. So most of our human life is spent in collecting karma. And now you can understand there will be Laukik karma that most of us spend our life with. Very little Vedic karma, in the sense we hardly do any prayerful actions now. So all this is now still getting added. That is Sanchit karma. When from this Sanchit karma, there will be some set of karma which is now fructifying. Remember, they've all become now solidified, concrete. In time, they have to give you a result. When they're ready to give you the result, at the environment is right, time and places where you will be experiencing that result, that initiation is called prarabdham, with which you get birth. So your prarabdha karma initiates the birth. Which kind of birth you will have. Whether you are going to be in the human body or you will be in a... If I have just been lying around the whole life, just eating, and just sleeping, and just sensorily indulging, what should be the conducive body for me? It can be anything. Nobody can predict. But you will get a body that is going to be in conduciveness to whatever the next set of your karma has to erupt to experience that. So prarabdha karma is that set of karmas with which you are now born, which will only be altered, which cannot be altered at all, only exhausted. The karam phal is concrete. You only can live it now. You can only experience it and exhaust it. When the karma phal gets exhausted, it's exhausted. Like what? Like the fact that I have a human body, a female body. Can this female body be altered? By nature. By science now, I don't know how karma will work. But by nature, I was born as a female. My will may change my gender tomorrow, but my will, by birth, I came in a female body. By birth, I have been born to a certain parentage. By birth, I have been born in a certain time and country. By birth, I am born in a religion. That is why he said, Brahmanaha aham. Kayastha aham. What else are there? Whatever are the castes, I am not very good at all that. You're born at a particular time and to a particular set of parents, to a particular set of environment. That is the beginning of your prarabdha karma. And it will only get exhausted in time, and nothing can alter it. Nothing can change it. Nothing can change it. Prarabdha karma means it is now the arrow that has come out of the quiver, of the bow, and it is only going to go through its course. You cannot change its course. It will go hit the target. And that means when the phal duration is finished, it will exhaust. A new set of karma will start. So this birth is set by prarabdha karma. So how much lifespan we have, each one, is broadly determined in prarabdha karma. Yes, there is this free will in a human body. So a lot of people try to pre-take their etc. Now those things are something that is still possible, but it will bring back the phal. So all this is prarabdha karma. Now what happens to Jnani? all three karmas is gone. But he still has a body. He still continues to function. So when he continues because of that prarabdha karma, only when his prarabdha karma is gone will he die. Till then he has this karma. His body is there, he's eating, sleeping, he'll also trample some ants while he's walking if he's not careful. Kuch to hoga hi, I mean, some injury will be caused, even if he doesn't mean, he meant all kind words, but somebody else misunderstood him. And you know how Krishna's life is. There will always be certain Duryodhanas around, even for a Gyani, who will misinterpret, who will purposely misinterpret because they'll hold that in inner jealousy or inner avidya ka force is too strong in everyone. So you're not always going to be received at the level of your knowledge. People will take you from their own understanding also. This prarabdha karma that he stays with, for him, Sanchitam is gone with what? We'll do all this in details in the next class. Sanchitam is gone. Agami is no more generated. So there'll be no further rebirth coming. And Prarabdha will exhaust on death. So with this, we will end here. And we will continue in the next class. What happens to this once these three karmas are gone? Can you see?
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषो ब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं शोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः